Every milestone before this one was about your life. 100,000 changed how the world treated you. 250,000 bought you breathing room. 500,000 gave you escape velocity. The first million made work optional. The second million turned that option into a life you could actually live. Every single step was measured in one currency. How much freer, how much safer, how much more comfortable your own life became. $5 million is where that stops. Because somewhere on the climb past 2 million, your life quietly gets solved. Completely. The freedom, the comfort, the security, the worst-case crash, all of it permanently handled with money left over that you are never going to need. And the moment your own life is no longer the question, money stops being about you at all. It becomes something else. A category of wealth that plays by an entirely different set of rules than the one you have been playing by your whole life. Here is exactly what changes the day you reach $5 million. Here is what you will understand by the end of this video. 6 things become true at $5 million that no smaller number could give you. The first is that your lifestyle becomes permanently solved. You cross the point where more money simply stops improving your daily life. The second is that you enter a different financial universe, with access to investments and opportunities that are quite literally closed to everyone below you. The third is that your money now out-earns elite careers. Your portfolio makes more, sitting completely still, than surgeons and lawyers make working full-time. The fourth is that money changes jobs. It stops being a tool for your survival and becomes a tool for leverage. The power to build, to fund, to back people, to shape the world around you. The fifth is that the entire game changes. What you keep stops depending on your returns and starts depending on structure, where taxes, entities, and estate design quietly become the main event. And the sixth is that your wealth turns dynastic. No longer a head start for your kids, but a financial institution that can outlive everyone who ever touches it. Below 5 million, money was about your life. At 5 million, money becomes about everything beyond it. Let me show you. There is one number that explains why $5 million is not just a bigger version of everything that came before it, and it comes straight from the rule we keep returning to. The 4% rule says you can safely draw about 4% of a diversified portfolio every year, adjust it upward for inflation, and have strong historical confidence the money outlives you. Walk it up the ladder one more time, because the jump is the whole point. At $1 million, 4% was $40,000 a year, freedom, but a careful one. At $2 million, it was $80,000 a year, a genuinely comfortable middle-class life, for life. Now run it at $5 million at 4% is $200,000 a year. $200,000 inflation-adjusted indefinitely without ever earning another paycheck. Sit with how large that is. $200,000 a year of spending puts you, without working, in the income range that most high earners spend their entire careers chasing and never quite reach. The paid-off house, the travel, the cars, the private schools, the comfortable cushion under all of it, covered by a portfolio you are barely touching. And here is the strange thing that happens at this number. For your whole life, more money meant a better life. Another raise, another milestone, a little more comfort and a little less stress. But somewhere around here you hit a ceiling money cannot push through. Your life is solved. A 6th million, a 7th, an 8th. They will not make your coffee taste better, your bed softer, or your weekend longer. And that is precisely why 5 million plays by different rules. When your own life is fully funded and more money can no longer improve it, the entire purpose of the money changes. It is no longer there to take care of you. That job is finished. It is now free to do something else entirely. Below this line, you managed money to build a life. Above this line, your life is built, and you start managing money for reasons that have nothing to do with your own comfort. That shift from money for your life to money beyond your life is what this whole milestone is really about. Unlock number 1. At $5 million, your lifestyle becomes permanently solved. and you cross the point where more money stops improving your daily life. I want to be precise about what solved means here, because it is easy to wave at and hard to actually feel. At $2,080,000 a year bought a comfortable life, but you could still picture upgrades. A bigger house, fewer compromises, a thicker cushion. There were still wants the money had not reached yet. At $5,200,000 a year of permanent, work-free spending reaches almost all of them. The house is paid off and the right size, the cars are handled, the travel happens, the emergencies are absorbed without a second thought. The college bills, the home repairs, the medical surprises, the things that used to be financial events are now just Tuesdays. And once your life is genuinely covered, something quiet happens to the next dollar. It loses its power over your happiness. This is the hedonic ceiling, and 5 million is roughly where most people slam into it. The 10th million does not feel like the second one did. The difference between 200,000 a year and 300,000 a year is real on a spreadsheet and nearly invisible in how your actual days feel. This is the unlock people fantasize about, and almost no one thinks through. They assume 5 million just means a fancier version of their current life. It does not. It means their current life, plus a strange new fact. The scoreboard stops mattering to their comfort. And that is not a disappointment. It is a kind of liberation. Because the day money can no longer improve your life is the exact day you are free to stop asking what it can do for you and start asking what it can do, period. The race to feel more secure, more comfortable, more taken care of, that race is over. You won it. That is unlock number 1. And everything else in this video is what becomes possible only after it is true. Unlock number 2, and this is the one that is invisible from below and obvious the moment you arrive. At $5 million, you enter a different financial universe, with access to a world of investments that is quite literally closed to everyone beneath you. Most people never learn this, because the door is one you cannot even see until you are standing in front of it. The financial world is tiered by law, not just by wealth. There is a category called an accredited investor, roughly $1 million in net worth outside your home or a few $100,000 in income, that unlocks the first private door. But there is a second, far more exclusive line, and it sits almost exactly here. Reach about $5 million in investments and you become what the rules call a qualified purchaser. And that status opens doors the merely rich never walk through. This is what different rules means in the most literal sense. Below these lines, you are legally limited to the public menu: stocks, bonds, funds, the things anyone can buy. Above them, an entire private economy opens up: private equity, private credit, hedge funds, venture capital, direct real estate deals, private placements, structures built and offered only to people who have crossed these thresholds. Whole categories of opportunity that were never advertised to you because, by law, they could not be. And it is not only the products, it is the rooms. At 5 million, the relationship with money itself changes shape. You stop being a customer of finance and start being a client of it. Private banking, dedicated advisors, deal flow that arrives by introduction rather than advertisement, invitations into things precisely because you can now write the check. The phone starts ringing from the other direction. Now, a heavy word of caution, because this universe is exactly where a lot of newly wealthy people quietly lose money. Different does not mean better. Many of these private products carry high fees, long lockups, and real risk, and plenty of them underperform the boring index fund you rode the whole way here. We will come back to that trap. But the point of this unlock is simple. The doors exist now, and they did not before. At 5 million, the financial universe you live in is structurally different from the one you spent your life inside. That is unlock number 2. Unlock number 3, And it is the moment the scale of your money becomes almost hard to believe. At $5 million, your portfolio out-earns elite careers. Your money, sitting completely still, makes more than most people make working as hard as they can. Put the number down. $5 million invested at a long-run average of 7% generates roughly $350,000 a year. $350,000 in returns alone in a single year from money that already exists and that you are not adding a cent to. Now hold that against the working world. That is more than most surgeons earn, more than most lawyers, most engineers, most executives. Your portfolio, doing nothing but existing, out-earns careers that take a decade of training and 60-hour weeks to build. We talked at $2 million about the moment your returns outpace your ability to save. This is that idea taken to its conclusion. At $2 million, the engine was bigger than your savings. At $5 million, the engine is bigger than almost any salary a human being can command. There is no job, no raise, no promotion that competes with what this money does on its own while you sleep. You could not out-earn it by working. The very idea of trading your hours for dollars to grow this number has become slightly absurd, like bailing out the ocean with a teaspoon. And this is what finally permanently inverts your relationship with work. At $1 million, work became optional. At $2 million, it became pure preference. At $5 million, work as a way to build wealth becomes almost meaningless, because nothing you could earn moves the needle next to what the capital produces. If you keep working, and many people do, it is now purely for meaning, for craft, for the people, for the problem. The financial reason is not just gone. It has been mathematically erased. Your money graduated past your career. That is unlock number 3. Unlock number 4, and this is the one that pays off the promise this whole video is built on. At $5 million, money stops being a tool for your survival and becomes a tool for leverage. The power to build, to fund, and to shape things beyond yourself. Trace what money has been for you this entire time. At the bottom of the ladder, it was survival, rent, bills, the gap between the paycheck and the month. Higher up, it was security, then comfort, then independence. The life you could live without permission. But every one of those was about you. Money, all the way up, was a tool pointed inward. At $5 million, with your own life fully solved, the tool finally turns around and points outward. For the first time, you have real surplus capital that has no job left to do for you. And capital with no personal job to do is the most powerful thing in finance, because it can be aimed at anything. You can fund a business, your own or someone else's. You can back a person, a kid with an idea, a family member, a founder. You can give in a way that actually changes outcomes, not a token check, but enough to move something. You can buy yourself out of problems that used to own you and buy other people out of theirs. This is the deep meaning of the tease that brought you here. The point where money stops being about your life. It does not mean you stop enjoying it. It means the center of gravity moves. The question quietly shifts from, how do I take care of myself? Answered, finished, to, what do I want to do with the ability to move real resources in the world? That is a fundamentally different kind of power than anything lower on the ladder. A comfortable life is something money buys for you. Leverage is something money lets you do to the world. At $5 million, you cross from one to the other. Most people who get here never fully notice the switch, and so they keep pointing a tool inward that has nothing left to fix. The ones who do notice it are the ones whose wealth starts to mean something past their own front door. That is unlock number 4, unlock number 5, and it is the one that quietly separates people who keep their wealth from people who slowly leak it. At $5 million, the game changes from earning to keeping, and what you keep stops depending on your returns and starts depending on structure. For your entire climb, the math that mattered was on the growth side. Save more, invest well, let it compound. The whole game was making the number go up. At 5 million, a second game begins, and it is the one the wealthy actually obsess over. Not how much you make, but how much you keep. And keeping is not about returns. It is about structure, taxes, accounts, entities, and the design of how the money is held. Here is why it suddenly dominates. When your portfolio throws off $350,000 a year, taxes on that income are no longer a rounding error. They are one of your single largest expenses, and how the money is structured can swing your tax bill by tens of thousands of dollars a year. Which accounts hold which assets, how and when you draw income, how gains are realized. These decisions, boring as they sound, now outweigh chasing an extra point of return. A dollar saved through smart structure is worth exactly as much as a dollar earned in the market, and it is far more reliable. And then there is the part almost nobody plans for until it is too late. What happens to $5 million when you die? At this level, estate planning stops being something for rich people and becomes something for you, because you are now the rich people. Estates of this size can run into estate taxes, probate, and a mess of avoidable losses, and the exemptions and rules that govern them shift constantly with the political winds. The wealthy use trusts, gifting strategies, and deliberate structure, not because it is glamorous, but because the alternative is watching a meaningful slice of what they built get handed to taxes and lawyers instead of to the people and causes they chose. This is the most unglamorous unlock and one of the most important. At 5 million, you are no longer just an investor. You are the manager of an estate. The skills that built the wealth, frugality, patience, picking a good index, are not the skills that preserve and pass it on. Those require structure, and structure is now the main game. That is unlock number 5. Unlock number 6, and it is the one that reaches the farthest. Past your retirement, past your lifetime, into a timeline longer than your own. At $5 million, your wealth becomes dynastic. It stops being a head start for your children and becomes a financial institution that can outlive everyone who touches it. We saw the seed of this at 2 million, where a portfolio left alone could grow into a real inheritance. At 5 million, the numbers cross into a different category entirely. Run it forward. $5 million invested at 7%, left completely untouched for 30 years, grows to roughly $38 million. At a more conservative 5%, it becomes around $21 million. Even at a cautious 4%, it passes $16 million. From one starting point. One generation of patience. But the truly powerful idea is not just the size, it is permanence. Because at 5 million, you can live a full $200,000 life off the top and still not draw the portfolio down faster than it grows. The base keeps compounding underneath you even as you spend from it. And a pool of money that grows faster than it is drained does not have an expiration date. Managed with discipline, it can fund your life, then your children's, then theirs, paying out a livable income at every stage and never actually running out. That is not an inheritance. That is an endowment. The same structure universities and foundations use to live forever. This is where the foundation framing from the last few milestones completes itself. The first million was your finish line. The second million was the foundation your own life got built on. The 5th million is the foundation a family line gets built on. A permanent floor under people who do not exist yet. A debt-free start, a work-optional baseline, a cushion against catastrophe, handed to your grandchildren on the day they are born, because you crossed 5 million and had the discipline to let the machine keep running. You stop being a person who got wealthy and become the founder of something, the origin point of a financial story that can run for 100 years. That is the real weight of 5 million, and that is unlock number 6. So you are somewhere on the climb. At 1 million, at 2, looking up at 5 and wondering how the last stretch actually works, and what is waiting there to trip you up. Let us handle both, because the trap at 5 million is the most dangerous one on the entire ladder. The good news first, and by now you can probably say it with me. The boring formula still works. But be honest about the shape of this stretch because it is different. 2 million to 5 million is not a single doubling. It is 2.5 times your money, and that takes longer. Left completely alone at 7%, 2 million grows to about 4 million in roughly a decade, and reaches 5 million in around 13 to 14 years. That is the pure compounding path. Hands off, no new money, just time. Most people who actually reach 5 million, though, did it by combining that compounding with a stretch of higher income, a business, equity, or a windfall, and feeding it into the same low-cost, diversified portfolio that carried them this far. There is still no secret. It is the same formula, given more time or more fuel. Keep living below your means, keep the gap invested, keep your hands off it through the crashes, and 5 million arrives. But here is the trap, and it is the opposite of every trap before it. Lower on the ladder, the danger was always about your lifestyle. Spending too much at 1 million, or being too afraid to spend at 2. At 5 million, your lifestyle is solved, so the danger moves somewhere worse. You start to mistake the money for the point. This is where people who spent decades getting rich quietly start getting worse at it. They reach the new financial universe from Unlock 2, decide a simple index fund is beneath them, and pile into complicated, high-fee, exotic deals that underperform the boring portfolio that actually built their fortune. They let the number become their identity, optimizing a figure they have already proven they will never spend. They overmanage, overcomplicate, chase status that does not compound, and forget the entire reason they climbed: to make money stop being the center of their life, not to enthrone it there forever. So here are 3 rules to carry you to 5 million and, more importantly, to not be ruined by it. Rule 1. Solve your life, then aim the surplus at something bigger. Decide on purpose what the money beyond your $200,000 life is actually for: family, building, giving, freedom for other people. Capital without a purpose does not sit quietly. It turns into anxiety and ego. Give it a job that points outward. Rule 2. Do not abandon the boring formula just because you can now afford to. The new doors from Unlock 2 are real, but access is not obligation. The same simple, diversified, low-cost approach that built 5 million is what protects it. Most of the exotic alternatives exist to enrich the people selling them, not you. Rule 3. Build the structure deliberately. At this level, what you keep and what you pass on is decided by design: taxes, trusts, estate planning, not by luck and not by returns. The wealth is now big enough that ignoring the structure is the single most expensive mistake you can make. $5 million is not a richer version of your life. It is the moment your life stops being the question at all, where money finishes its old job of taking care of you and takes on a new one, building things, funding people, and outliving you entirely. The freedom is solved. The comfort is solved. The only question left is what a category of wealth this large is for. 1 million made work optional. 2 million made the option a life. 5 million is where money stops being about your life altogether, where your lifestyle becomes permanently solved, where a different financial universe opens its doors, where your portfolio out-earns elite careers, where money turns from survival into leverage, where structure quietly becomes the main game, and where your wealth grows large enough to become a financial institution that outlives you. The first million was the goal. The 5th million is where the money graduates past you. If this changed how you see the number you are working toward, drop a comment with where you are on the journey. We are building this community one honest milestone at a time. And as always, the line worth repeating every single time: this channel is for education, not financial advice. I am not your advisor. Learn it, question it, run your own numbers, and make the decisions that are right for your life. I will see you in the next one, where we go one final step further to $10 million, the moment you have more than you could spend in several lifetimes, and the only question left is what kind of mark you want to leave behind.